Hello, Andre Ewell. How are you, sir?
Man, amazing and cutting weight. So if you put that together, you end up getting your answer.
There you go. Well, just to sort of lay down the groundwork here, because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. A little less than 2 weeks ago, I did an interview with this man, Andre Ewell. It was not this past Thursday, but it was the one before, because he was getting ready to fight Cody Stamann in a short notice fight at UFC Vegas 18, which went down this past weekend. And then a day or two later, I find out that Andre is out of the fight and that the UFC signed Askar to replace him. So naturally, I was like, what the heck just happened? I just spoke with Andre the other day, and he was focused and fired up and ready to go, and he seemed great. And luckily, as people watching this may have heard already, he's now going to fight Chris Gutierrez this Saturday at UFC 258. So, Andre, I want to start with this. Let's start with the last interview we did that didn't get released because of this chaos. We speak on that Thursday, 9 days out away from the fight with Cody Stamann. What happened from there that ultimately led to you not being able to compete?
So short version, they ended up getting a false positive from me and off of the COVID test, and that's what ended up happening. I ended up sending an extra test to follow suit, and I ended up testing negative. So it was just one of those awkward situations where I got placed on a 10-day hold. And so the kicker is, even though I got placed on a 10-day hold, they moved me for the following week. Actually moved me and Stamann for the following week, and they offered it where they said, hey, you guys can fight basically on the pay-per-view. And then this is also at the same time that the co-main event got pulled, and there was a chance that me and him could have took the co-main event. All I had to end up doing was Stamann to end up saying yes to it, but he chose to fight last week, and he chose to fight Askar. So that's like the full true story. I know he has his own story going out, but the full fact is that me and him got offered the following week, and we could have made it happen if he would have just said yeah to it.
Man, and then he didn't end up fighting anyways against Askar. That's crazy.
Karma, right? Karma really is alive today, people.
That's wild. So you had there are no symptoms, nothing like that, right? It was a negative test or positive test, and then you took what, 2 tests, and they were both negative?
Took 2 tests, sent them in, all negative. And this is why I'm here for this weekend to fight Chris. So, opportunities, and I know the opportunity is going to end up shining again for me. It's either him or another ranked opponent. But after I get my job done with Chris, I'm moving. We're moving on into the number rank.
Yeah, I spoke with Cody the Monday of fight week, and he was very respectful towards you. A lot of appreciation that you're willing to step up and fight him on short notice. And he thought you would be like a very interesting puzzle to try to solve because you're a much different guy than Merab Dvalishvili is, obviously. And he was ultimately bummed that the fight didn't happen. So I didn't really know that they offered the fight the next week. But, you getting that chance to fight a top 15 guy like that, I'm sure you're a little bit bummed yourself. But seeing how this all played out, getting on pay-per-view, getting on ESPN, this is a pretty cool substitution prize, is it not?
Oh, definitely it is. Definitely it is. And granted that I know you said he had nothing but respect, like everything else on other people's board. He was kind of like down talking me and everything, or more of a, he's going to finish me off in a certain round and, giving out what he's supposed to end up saying. But a lot of people were taking it as trash talking because it kept DM me and inboxing me with information. So, I had to take it what it is, but I got to take what it was now. So the fact is that I know that we got offered the following week, and like I stated, he chose to stay on there. And hey, I end up understanding, when you have a road and, you got to put up for the people. So he ended up doing what he had to do. But at the end of the day, like I stated, I am on a better card and, viewer. And not only that, the world will be tuning in. So excited about it.
So how long after you found out Stamann wasn't going to wait the extra week to fight you that Gutierrez got substituted in instead?
Literally, I found out that Saturday morning, which I know they were talking in negotiations of that Friday, but it kind of came fruition on that Saturday morning, last Saturday. And that's when I found out that Stamann wasn't going to end up fighting. So it was it was like domino effects just all happening all in one place. And then I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, now they, Andre Stamann can fight the following week, but we're I was in the middle of signing the contract with Chris at that time, so it was like already too late.
Oh man! So if all this just waited like another 3 hours, everything could be different right now.
Yeah, literally 3 hours. Me and Cody probably would have been fighting right now. But again, since he didn't fight, and I know he's willing to jump back up in there, so once I do get my work done, I'll end up following up in the next week with him, hopefully.
There you go.
That happen unless I know he wants Marab really bad, but if I'm still on the table, that'd be awesome because he ended up talking and I got to talk, so we got to end up making that happen.
There you go. So we spoke about this on that interview that didn't get out there, but when you and I talked after the Jonathan Martinez fight, people were talking about, the judges and such and the robbery and throwing that out there. And you essentially said, like, it doesn't matter what these people think because I'm 2 fights away from blowing up. Whether you thought I won, whether you thought I lost, I'm 2 fights away from blowing up. And you get the fight with Irwin Rivera, you win that one, and now you get this fight with Gutierrez on short notice, big pay-per-view card, fighting on ESPN, etc. This is the perfect formula for that prediction to ring true, isn't it? With all these extra eyeballs upon you.
Oh, definitely. And just the fact is like I was like looking at the poll right now, I think they're voting for me to lose anyway. So a lot of people are like really going to be tuning in and watching it. That once I blow their mind open, that those people that were hating or basically betting against me will end up either becoming a super fan or even a super hater. So it's going to be one of the situation where they're going to have a super cape of being a super hater or a super cape of being a super fan. So someone's going to jump on one of the bandwagons of mine. And like I stated, I was true to my statement that I'm going to blow up. And, this is the fight that I'm about to blow up. 2 fights, and this is my second fight. And I'm about to be bigger than most people end up understanding. And basically everything's going to be up, meaning all top 15 fighters that are ranked top 15. All going to end up easily being called out.
You're ready? You're ready for that?
Oh, definitely. I'm even going to end up bringing out Uriah Faber back. Watch, I'll bring back out because I made him. We got to fight for his headband and for the California Kid nickname. So we got to make that happen.
Oh damn! Wow.
Yeah, serious. Like people thought I was serious, or thought I was playing. Like I got plans, and we about to make it blown up.
We're fighting for the California Kid nickname. Holy cow! What a story that would be.
He has one of those like super headbands. My brother wants it, so I got to end up putting that on the contract if me and him happen.
So you look at the polls before your fights to see like how the fans are looking at things?
I try not to, but they constantly keep tagging me and sending it to me. So it's like I'm looking at it, and then it was like a little like flash moment. Like me and Chris actually made it to the pay-per-view card, but everybody started complaining and ended up moving us out to the beginning of the prelims. It was like something like that category, and people are like jumping on it, trash talking and everything. So it got to a moment because I'm human. So, I jump on Twitter like normal people. I jump on my Instagram and Facebook. I explore what's on, and I'm over here scrolling down on Twitter and, I'm getting tagged and everybody's just like, oh, this card is this and this card is that. No more, they're like 2 fights away from it just automatically being a blown card and all that other stuff. And then you're going to move these 2 people, little small stuff, and they're just talking. So it's like, also like literally tell me how y'all really feel, like at the end of the day, I'm going to turn you guys into a fan. So, but literally tell me how y'all really feel, but hey, stuff like that. Got to keep it exciting.
But listen, if that's really what happened, I feel like they did you a favor. You know what I mean? Because I think, and this is no disrespect to the main card, because it's a good main card. There's some really interesting fights, but we're coming off UFC 257, which got like tons of buys. It was like one of the biggest pay-per-views of all time. They're reporting like 1.6 million buys, and people only have like so much money, like not all those people are going to turn around and spend $70 to buy this one. So chances are more people are going to watch you fight Chris Gutierrez now than would have on the pay-per-view.
That is true. That is full fact. And like I said, it didn't matter where they end up placing me on the card. Granted, like I wanted to be, the main attraction of everything, but just me fighting, I will end up bringing that attention. I'll end up bringing that energy / vibes where it will feel like it's the main card or feel like a main event. So that's just the way that I am. No matter how you end up looking at it, I'm that type of fighter. I bring excitement and I keep it exciting. It's basically showtime when the lights are on,
Chris is obviously teammates with Jonathan Martinez, and after he had the leg kick TKO finish with Vince Morales, he called you out, said your name. Did you know this?
Oh yeah, I definitely did. Definitely did. And I think he was on your show also talking about it too. So it's like, hey, nothing but like I said, I have no ill will against Chris. We have a job to do, and I know that he's going to bring what he's going to bring to the table, and I also know that he's basically defending his partner Martinez. So regardless of the situation, his captain, Sabatine is coming to the block. So reality. We're going to keep it exciting, and I'm going to end up doing what I do best, and definitely looking for a finish, my first finish in the UFC.
Do you like this fight from a stylistic perspective and like this point in your career more than the Stamann fight? Like, yeah, Stamann's got the number next to his name, and obviously that's a big deal, but he probably would have stood with you for a bit, but with like the big reach advantage you have, the length you would have had in that fight, he's probably going to look to wrestle a little bit more. Chris is more of a striker, the hard kicking game. Do you kind of like this matchup more from a stylistic perspective at this point?
Like stylistic, to be honest, I feel like this is like a ranked fight with me fighting Chris. Just the factors in, like how you stated, he has a great stand-up. He has good kicks. And not only that, he's a well-rounded fighter. The dude's actually a well-rounded fighter. He is the perfect image of a well-rounded fighter in the bantamweight class. Like, kind of reminds me of like a similar version of a Cheeto in a way. So I feel like this is like me getting like a rematch with Cheeto. So it's like something that I actually do like and do favor. And don't get me wrong, I feel like Stamann would have been the perfect opposite for me, but it would have been perfect for me. Just the fact is, as a crowd pleaser, they feel like, hey, since Stamann's a wrestler, he's just going to end up taking me down and holding me. But the thing about it is, at the end of the day, anybody that I always fight, I turn them all into wrestlers. It doesn't matter how you end up looking at it. Like even with Cheeto, he's a black belt, and I turned him into a wrestler. Like, it came down to every person that I end up coming across, they always turn into a wrestler. And like I have a feeling like the way that I be pushing the fight, if I fought Max Holloway, I'll turn him into a wrestler. It's just one of those things. Nothing but love to my boy Max, but it's one of those things. I feel like I'll turn him into a wrestler. I'll turn everybody into a wrestler. So I'm prepared for Chris to shoot. And just the same thing as in Stamann, I was already prepared for him to shoot as soon as I put my hand on him. And that's just how it is. Like, that's just me being frank with everybody that's in my weight class, So everybody has to end up shooting on me, and they got to end up realizing all I'm doing is doing jits, nothing but jits and wrestlers. I got wrestlers all in my gym, and I have nothing but jits. Jits, black belts, purple belts, brown belts, all up in here trying to kill me. Even blue belts is moving just as great as purple belts, and the white belts moving just as great as purple belts / blue belts. At the end of the day, I'm around all type of floor guys that when it comes to people like Cody, I look past that to I'm just going to come down there to break his face. That's just how I look at things. So
how long into this fight do you predict Chris Gutierrez will take Chris Gutierrez to fire that first shot at you?
First shot, I say sometime in the first round. I give it take about, you understand, like the first like 2 to 3 minutes, he'll end up trying to shoot or look to shoot or look for a shot, or it might even be like a clinch shot at the end of the day that I'm going to end up making him shoot.
Speaking of like length and height and such in fights, what did you think of Corey Sandhagen's flying knee against Frankie Edgar? Because that was ridiculous.
It was amazing. One thing about Corey is he has great timing. People don't really give him points or credit about his timing and his stand-up. And the moment of where you got to end up like looking at it, like another well-rounded fighter in our weight class is Sterling, right? Where he can wrestle you, jitsu, he can stand up with you, he can do anything he wants, right? And he knew with the stand-up that it was going to be like a 50-50 / more hanging on Corey's side, that he went straight to wrestling, straight to, grappling to his choke, to taking his back and choking him, And that's how much respect you have to give this guy, Corey. Like, you got to give him mad respect off on that. So for him to do that to Edgar, it's mind-blowing, but at the same time, not too shocking because it's Corey, So nothing but points to him there.
So how do we create a highlight reel of your own on Saturday, Andre? How do we get this done? How do we put this Factory X rivalry to bed once and for all?
Obviously, you got to finish it. And just like this, he ends up wrestling or tries to take it to the ground, I'm finishing him off with a submission. But if he keeps it standing, it's going to be one of those, finishing type thing. And you already know, like I stated, how my style is and attitude is, that I'm going to keep it exciting at the same time, aiming to finish the fight, and we'll finish it.
So after that happens, I mean, you're a fight fan, you're a student of the game. So let me get your take on this main event. We got welterweight title fight, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. These guys spent so many hours in the gym together for so many years, and now they're former teammates fighting for the biggest prize at 170 pounds. What do you think of this fight, Andre? This is super fascinating to me.
I know it is. It's very interesting and it's exciting because, like, Usman normally just basically takes his opponents and just sink them underwater. He ends up drowning them. But now this is one of those situations, like, Gilbert is really good on the ground. He's a black belt type thing, and by him moving with Usman from, like, all these years being the same teammates and everything, you already know that his wrestling has to be there. Just the fact is, for you to move with Usman, you have to have decent wrestling. You have to have a wrestling that's up to par or moving forward type thing. So for him, with his wrestling / groundwork as being a black belt, it makes him very dangerous. So as of right now, my money will be on Usman if I was a betting man. But there's always that but, as in Usman, or not Usman, but Gilbert. Gilbert is the butt of the situation, just like how against Conor versus Poirier. Poirier was that butt. But Poirier sits very nicely at 55, where Conor was low-key the smaller guy, but he doesn't move like he's the smaller guy, So it just kind of comes down as in what's ended up happening with those two, with Usman and Gilbert. But money's on Usman on this one.
I'm not sure if you've ever fought a teammate or a former teammate, because, like, in my mind, and I've never fought, like, professionally or anything like that, I have no idea how this works, but, like, especially if you trained and sparred together for as long as these guys did, it has to be a little weird, right? I mean, you could brush it off like it's nothing, but those guys for sure had some battles in there that nobody knows about besides those two guys and maybe a few others. And they both know that heading into this fight. How would you handle that situation? Like, if you fought a former teammate and you know how those battles went in the gym, walking into that octagon and having, like, an actual fight with them, how would you handle that?
Truth be told, I actually did have a similar situation, but I don't think we were, like, all that close, but we were, like, cool. It was against, like, two fighters, and one of them was a UFC vet, Willie Gates, if you recall. But, yeah, it was Willie Gates, cool guy. We were cool, but I felt like him and his buddy Rick James ended up only picking to fight me because they felt like I didn't belong. It was one of those situations. This is before I ended up changing that. We were, like, sparring partners here and there, like, twice out of the week. And it's funny, too, because it was the same time back in the day of when I was training with Bobby Green, Jamal Emmers, which is also on the card.
That's right.
And then it was those two, including myself and the coaches. So we're all in my coach. So we're all, like, together as 2 to 3 times out of the week, training with each other. And then 2 years later, I ended up fighting, Rick James / or not Jamal, but Rick James and Willie Gates. And they only chose me because they felt like, oh, I was a nobody and I shouldn't even belong. So they're supposedly supposed to, like, teach me a lesson to get me out as an easy win and easy number, But it was a rude awakening. So I do understand that it could be difficult, but it automatically we don't know how their relationship was in the gym. It could have been one of those, like, we're in the gym but we don't talk, and the only time that we talk is when we work with each other, and you give out your credit of, hey, good luck on your fight, and that's about it. And then but then again, it could be, like, really close friends, who knows, But at the end of the day, the game is about respect. So, and those two do respect the game, no matter how you end up looking at it. So I think there's no bad blood with them, and I think they're going to keep it exciting. Just the fact is they respect the art of war, so they're going to fight.
Excellent breakdown, my friend. Should be a fun card. Your addition with Chris at 140 pounds, great addition to it. Andre Ewell, Chris Gutierrez this Saturday at UFC 258. I believe it's the first ESPN prelim fight. It's going to kick off the prelims at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Andre, I appreciate the time, man. All the best to you on Saturday, and thanks for doing this again.
I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Until next time, mate.